Panther Comms podcast with Timmy VO.
So, pros and cons about Deshaun Watson. First and foremost, the pro aspect from just from his stature as a player. I have his career stats in front of me. Again, this is nothing personal, just being straight up with you folks. His last season, of course, he didn't play at all last season, which is going to put him behind the 8 ball when it comes to gaining rhythm and being comfortable with the system, the lingo, new coaching staff, new location, if that's the case. So I'm gonna look at what he can do as a quarterback. And if you look at the numbers, ladies and gentlemen, just from a performance standpoint, the kid can play. The kid play. 2020 season, he finished the season with 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. Right, that's a little over a 5-to-1 ratio. And a quarterback rating, not QB, a quarterback rating of 112.4. The kid can play. Right, he's had 2 seasons where he threw for over 4,000 yards. All right, that other season was 2018, 26 touchdowns, 9 picks. Okay, almost a 3-to-1 ratio. So the kid can play. He's had over a 100 quarterback rating grade since he's been in the league, except for 1 year. That was 2019. The kid can play. From a football standpoint, you see why people are excited about him. Now, you can look at the tools that were around Deshaun. Of course, at one point in time, he had a very good running game going on. They had a decent O-line. He had my man at wide receiver, a beast. And yet, they really didn't do much with that in terms of from a playoff standpoint. His individual statistics are great. How many postseason wins does the man have? These things come into play, folks. Especially when you're talking about giving away what Tepper and the pundits are referring to Tepper doing and Scott Fitt, and giving the Texans for Deshaun. Now, down the road, we're going to have a very interesting situation in terms of signing the young talent that we've drafted on defense. That's going to be an issue. And I'll tell you right now, folks, we have a great core of young players. Burns. Say what you want about Brown, but he's still a force. He just got to get his head together. And that'll come from coaching too. Potentially getting a young middle linebacker that can flourish. Shaq is getting up there in age and things of that nature. It happens. Chin. Now we got Bouye. Henderson. Potentially keeping him on board. Along with Jack. D-Jack. Bruh. It's one would be extremely naive to not get some money available and get some contract negotiations and stipulations set up to where we will be able to sign at least 4 of those players that I mentioned. Because when you get a young core, a defense, and you set the tone, it opens up things for you. One of those things is not having to rely on a quarterback. You can rely on your running game. You can rely on your schemes. You can rely on a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, but is not Tom Brady. You can have a quarterback that makes good decisions and plays within the system and get things done. Case in point, Garoppolo. He's not like that. And let's not kid ourselves. He's not like that at QB, but he plays in a system and where his tools are utilized correctly, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He still makes mistakes, obviously, but it's just an example. They've been in the playoffs what 3 years straight. They're formidable. The 49ers are a formidable team. They got a badass tight end. They can run the football. We are somewhat the East Coast version of the 49ers on offense in terms of skill set. McCaffrey and Debo are almost the same thing. I dare say McCaffrey might have better hands. But we have that. We have DJ. They don't have a DJ Moore. If we can come close to what their offensive line can do, we're going to make noise in the NFC South. But we're not going to be able to do that and have a Deshaun Watson on this team. There's the con. What we're going to give away for Deshaun Watson would paralyze us in the long run. I'll be a fan to that day, but I don't find myself going to games and buying jerseys with a front office that keeps doing bonehead shit. I'm not going to do that. Now, there's a lot of other Panther fans out there that won't either, because times are tough right now, folks. Them pockets are tight. Let's not kid ourselves here. Okay? Deshaun Watson is a talent, but that talent won't amount to a hill of beans coming to the Carolina Panthers. Real talk. In fact, if I was Deshaun Watson, I'd probably go to Cleveland if he wants to win games. If he just wants the money and come back close to old Death Valley and his roots in that area, okay, yeah, come to Carolina, but don't expect to be winning games, bro, and don't expect to not get hit a lot. If you're listening to this podcast, go look at how many times Cam Newton got hit just in half a season. We have glaring needs, ladies and gentlemen. And Tepper giving away first-round picks over the next 3 seasons, which is the talk, or maybe giving away one of our key young pieces, it's not a good idea. I mean, I seriously doubt. Now, this is because, now, of course, this is a catch-22. I seriously doubt the Houston Texans are going to look at taking Christian McCaffrey in that contract, knowing that he's been injured all this time. But at the same time, if Christian McCaffrey hasn't been injured all this time, we wouldn't be trying to trade him. In fact, we probably would have got to the playoffs at least one of those seasons. Not last season, obviously. Christian's not going to win. Well, I don't know, is he? He's not going to win an additional 5-6 games. But it would have been close. I mean, some of those games we probably could have pulled off. Who knows? Who knows? When you have somebody who's a 100 and 100 waiting to happen, you never know. Because our defense early on, folks, we were doing our thing because we were putting points on the board and making our opponent one dimensional. But I seriously doubt the Texans are going to take McCaffrey. If we give up Burns, that'd be devastating. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but Brian Burns is a once in a lifetime talent. He really is, and I really wish that we would utilize a 4-3 scheme or a nickel scheme a little more, where he's got his hand in the dirt and not playing the standing outside linebacker, technique. So it chaps my hide that they possibly might give Burns away, but they might. Chin, that would be a huge mistake. One of the reasons we have a lot of guys on in our secondary, other than injuries last year, might be for trading pieces. But I'm not quite sure that's going to be. One, it's not going to be smart because we all know what it was like before we drafted D-Jack and got our secondary in line. We were getting torched, and we still were getting burned up last year. Atlanta. We're still getting burned up last year. There is no good scenario to come out of this other than Deshaun Watson coming to Carolina. But again, that's not going to equal the wins. We'll have Deshaun Watson and what? We're already missing a second and a third round pick this year in a draft where we could actually beef up our defense and our offense at the same time through round 3. But that's off the table. Now we have a 6th pick and hopefully we can do something with that. But giving away a bunch of first round picks, folks, for a maybe is not a good thing, especially when you can get a decent or a really good quarterback and have them on a rookie contract. Which brings me back to Sam Darnold and that 5th-year option, but I digress. Jesus Christ. So the pros, again, Deshaun Watson is a hell of an athlete. He played in the South Carolina area, of course, at Clemson. He has roots around here, in the southern Charlotte areas, in the southern North Carolina area. So okay. The guy can play. Obviously, he's a freak athlete, hell of an arm, great, not great accuracy, but he's pretty accurate with the football. Better than most, better than anybody we've had in a while. Sorry, Cam. That's the obvious pros. Cons, we don't. In my eyes, the cons outweigh the pros heavily. We don't have an environment where he can flourish. We're not going to be able to keep him and DJ and C-Mac and have that defense functioning like it was last year. Our only issue is stopping the run. That can be fixed, especially with that beast of a linebacker from Wisconsin, I believe that is. Big kid. He's damn near 250. Big kid. Having him in the middle will be a blessing. And of course, we can convert to that, a Buffalo nickel scheme and 2 linebackers and I really think that we can do some damage if we have 4 down linemen as opposed to 3. You got to have really good linebacker play in the middle of the field if you're going to a 4 linebacker look, and we just haven't had that. Even with Luke in the middle, I know we try to switch it up a couple of times, and it's really hard. It's really hard to play dual mics in a 3-4 type scheme or a 3 down and look type of situation. So it's interesting. But again, this is what we have to deal with if we give away our picks and the potential to get young talent and have them under a rookie type of deal, so we can make moves. And this is how I feel about Deshaun Watson, folks. Is he a talent? Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt in that. Do the Carolina Panthers need Deshaun Watson? No. Because we're going to be in the same place we are now, except we won't have a first-round pick, regardless of where it is in the position. We won't have a first-round pick for years to come. For years to come, because we're going to give it away for somebody who might not be here after 3. And I don't know how many of you guys are on Twitter, but Deshaun Watson there was a report about Deshaun Watson clearly saying that he wanted to go somewhere who had a decent head coach, a decent offense, and a decent defense. All right, he wants to go somewhere where he can play and be competitive. That is not the Carolina Panthers. If we wanted to be competitive, folks, next year, we would have got rid of Rule this year. They're being strategic about putting coaches around Coach Rule. Why would we not be strategic about putting players in place so we can draft a quarterback that will be our future? Not somebody just to plug in the hole and have this pretty, this pretty diamond sitting in a field of cow manure. Make it make sense, folks. Take your feelings out of it. I want to win just as much as anybody else. Trust me, I'm a competitor. But I'm no fool neither. Patience is a virtue. Look at the Rams franchise. They maneuvered themselves where they barely even have to get draft picks. But they have consistency in that locker room. Green Bay, that franchise has consistency. Patriots had consistency for years. And they're still competitive. And now they have the QB that I would not name because I don't appreciate how you did my man Burns. But they have consistency. The Steelers organization, prime example. Even with old Big Ben, they still had consistency. They were still winning after Antonio Brown did his thing and left and all this other consistency. And I envy those franchises because they have an expectation, and that expectation doesn't waver very much outside of the Rams. Obviously, their history is a little different, but the Steelers, Packers, their history is expectations, but they do things the right way for the most part. They have a consistent coaching staff, and they put players in position to make plays. And these coaches normally, the Packers obviously have had different coaches over the years, but Tomlin is a staple. The blueprint in that situation, they have consistency in their expectations. People forget Aaron Rodgers was looked over for a while in the draft when he was picked up. Came out there and did his thing, motivated. Drew Brees, he wasn't balling like that in San Diego, folks. I think he got drafted by the Chargers. He wasn't balling like that, but soon as he hooked up in New Orleans, rest is history. The Carolina Panthers do not need to jump the gun on a young talent just to shit the bed 4 years down the road when we can't build around him. And we're going to have another Cam situation in 2016, 2017, 2018. Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. And we have an owner who is very impatient, and he makes moves. He makes moves from a personal standpoint, and I find that hard to believe since he's a businessman. But I guess when you amass that kind of wealth, making moves from a personal standpoint or a personal point of view when it comes to business, well, I guess it doesn't affect you that much, but it affects the fans. He was talking high mind about how he was going to come to Charlotte and you get this fan base hyped up and put a winning product on the field, blah blah blah. Like my daddy told me, give them enough rope. You'll see what they're swinging. Give them enough rope. And that's what we're seeing right now, folks. There is no reason to try to bring in Deshaun Watson and pitch the farm for him when you could bring in Cam Newton. There's no need for it. And the reason I say that is because I know Cam is not going to be our guy for the next 4 or 5 years. I know that. That's the point. Sam's contract, this is his last year coming up. Okay, we can just walk away from him. We'll have Cam already in place. And let's be honest, are we going to win more than 8 games next year with Sam Darnold and Cam Newton? Probably not. If we have a healthy Christian McCaffrey, great. That'd be awesome. Now, hear me out. If we have a healthy Christian and he plays the entire season, I guarantee you he'll be a trade piece after this coming season. If he plays a full season healthy, absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll be looking to either pull in a veteran QB of a high stature in a trade deal, potentially with a first-round draft pick. Depends on the quarterbacks and how they look coming out of college. But that's far ahead. But will we win more than 8 games next year? I seriously doubt it. So we'll have a mid-grade first round pick next year, and we can get a decent quarterback. But the important thing is, in that scenario, we'll be able to sign DJ, sign him back on here. We still have Shy Smith and D Jr. We have a decent wide receiver room, and as there's a lot of things that we need as a franchise, as a team, and being patient will play itself out in 3 to 4 years, because everybody in the NFC South is hurting right now in terms of team construction. Everybody's hurting. Matty Ryan he's getting up there in years. The Saints, even though they're willing and dealing for Deshaun too, the Saints are not in a healthy cap situation. In Tampa Bay, they've imploded at the quarterback position. O-line needs have come afloat here, and their defense is kind of teetering a little bit. They lost some key pieces. The Carolina Panthers right now have the best defense out of the NFC South coming in the next season. Clearly, especially if we keep our secondary the way it is. Clearly, we drafted a decent linebacker, or who knows, maybe bring one in. That might be another reason to get that cap space going, because there's some alpha males from the linebacker position now in the free agency right now. So who knows? But one thing's for sure, the Carolina Panthers need to have that type of flexibility. Bringing in Deshaun Watson will destroy our flexibility. That's the biggest con of it all. Pro, he's good. Con, we're not that good. We're not good enough, especially to give up all our chips. Who wants a bowl of salsa when you can't have chips, right? All right, Panther fans. Of course, as always, check me out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Timmy VO. And, of course, you can subscribe to the Panther Comms Podcast YouTube channel. I really appreciate that. Take care. And as always, keep pounding. Peace.
Keep your comms up. Keep your comms up. The Panther Comms Podcast with Timmy VO.